The Young and the Restless, YNR, spoilers for Thursday, August 21st, reveal that Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, may be facing his last chance while Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, makes a stunning choice. Devin Winters, Bryton James, will also get some bad news. So, let's talk about what's coming up on YNR. For starters, Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, will fill Devin in on the latest drama with Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver. After Nate updates Devin on Claire Newman's, Haley Aaron awful accusations, he'll also point out that Audra denies any wrongdoing and is blaming everything on Kyle. Although Devin won't like the fact that Nate's facing another crisis, he won't be surprised by Audra's actions. Audra working for Victor on a Kyle seduction plot and kissing him openly in a restaurant will be right up her alley from Devin's perspective. Devin may push Nate to look in his heart and ask himself what he truly believes deep down. Nate may admit he thinks Audra's guilty, so he'll have to decide what that means for his relationship. If Nate and Audra are going to have any hope of surviving, he may determine that he at least needs her to be honest. Since Nate will force the whole truth out of Audra later this week, that may be her attempt to salvage what's left of this romance. Over with Kyle, he'll get some good advice from Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman. Both Jack and Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, have been concerned about Kyle not giving Claire the whole story regarding what played out in Nice. Will Jack urge Kyle to stop glossing over the more scandalous aspects of the trap he set for Audra? Kyle has been acting like nothing happened, but that's not exactly true since he kissed Audra repeatedly and got on top of her while half-naked. Claire is dealing with some doubts when it comes to Kyle, so that may be partly because she can sense that he's holding back. This could be Kyle's last chance to come clean before Audra retaliates, so stay tuned to see his next move. In the meantime, Victor will make a stunning choice that's sure to shake things up. Will this involve a corporate strategy or perhaps a more personal one? It's possible Victor will have some shocker in store that relates to Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, but it's also possible he'll tell Claire that he's finally backing off a relationship. Victoria Newman's, Amelia Heinley, lecture seemed to affect Victor emotionally, so he might shock Claire if he agrees to let her live her life. Of course, that doesn't mean Victor will keep his promise. Plus, if Kyle breaks Claire's heart, then Victor will absolutely retaliate based on the contract Kyle signed. The Young and the Restless spoilers say more romantic messes are in store, so stick with the CBS soap. CDL will have all the hottest Young and the Restless spoilers, updates, and news to read up on, so make us your go-to YNR source. The Young and the Restless, YNR, recap for Wednesday, August 20th, reveals that Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, will like after Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, exposes the dirty breakup plot to Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic. So, here's what YNR fans can look forward to. In the park, Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, will ask Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, to be her date for the launch party next week, so he'll seem worried that it's happening so soon. Sally will assure Billy that they're ready to roll and will hint about a secret weapon before revealing that she's hired Audra. Billy will wonder if Sally can trust Audra, so Sally will insist she can, and that they were lucky to get her. At the Jazz Lounge, Chelsea Lawson, Melissa Claire Egan, and Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, will debate whether Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, is going to retaliate over Newman Media's article. Chelsea will also talk about the benefits of Kane making Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, his ally, but Adam will doubt that Victor and Nick Newman's Joshua Morrow plan is going to work and will hint about a plan of his own. Once Sally and Billy arrive, Sally will express her disappointment, especially in Chelsea, since Newman Media dragged Billy into the Aristotle Dumas drama. Billy will suggest they can make things right by publicizing the upcoming Abbott Communications launch with Sally at the helm. Adam will decline to hype up a competitor, but he'll praise Billy for putting Sally in charge and trying to prevent another failure. Chelsea will wonder what Billy plans to do now that Sally's running Abbott Communications in his place. Billy will be cagey about his plans and will suggest Abbott Communications will publish the scoop before anyone else. Although Adam will assume Billy's just blowing smoke, Chelsea will privately warn him that Billy seems to have something big in the works. At Society, Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, will tell a funny story that gets Claire, Daniel Romalotti Jr., Michael Graziadei, and Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, all laughing. However, the mood will turn sour when Audra walks in with Nate, who'll insist on walking over to check on Claire. After they all discuss losses and grief, Claire will hint about the importance of fighting back. Audra and Nate will step away to enjoy the rest of their evening, but Claire won't be able to leave this alone. After Claire hints about the scene she's on the verge of causing, she'll corner Nate while he's waiting for drinks at the bar. Audra will realize what's happening and rush over so she can do damage control. Nevertheless, that won't stop Claire from revealing that Victor hired Audra to get Kyle to cheat with her. Claire will make it clear that Audra's Vibrante funding was tied to this breakup plot, but Audra will insist that's a lie. Audra will act like Kyle was the one lusting after her and making moves on her in Nice. Claire won't buy that for a second and will call Nate's attention to the kiss right there in Genoa City. Audra will blame that on Kyle too and act like he's just planting ideas in Claire's head now that he's been rejected. Claire will be sorry for piling more on Nate during a difficult time, but she'll want him to know the kind of person Audra is. As far as Claire's concerned, she won't think Nate should waste any more time on Audra. Audra will continue to spin things after Claire stomps off and will beg Nate to tell her that he believes her over Claire. Nate won't see why Claire would lie about something this monumental and destructive to their relationship. Nate will also realize this explains why things fell off when Audra supposedly changed her mind about working with Victor. It'll seem like Nate's more inclined to believe that Victor cut the funding over Audra's failure instead. Audra will keep up the Kyle blame game and act like Victor was right about how he was always going to break Claire's heart. That'll leave Nate wondering how Audra knew what Victor was thinking. Nearby, Tessa will place her hand on Daniel's and thank him for being such a good distraction lately. Daniel has helped Tessa feel like she could be happy again, so he'll admit to feeling the exact same way. Once Holden follows Claire to the park, he'll get updates on the latest Audra details and admit that sounds like the kind of thing she'd do. That said, Holden will also know from personal experience how easy it is to get drawn back into Audra's web. Holden will ask if there's a chance Audra's telling the truth about what happened with Kyle and Nice. Claire will ultimately acknowledge that despite her love for Kyle, she's still dealing with some doubt. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Kyle and Claire have more romantic. The Young and the Restless, YNR, spoilers hint that there are 3 ways Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, may ruin his reunion with Sharon Newman, Sharon Case. Let's talk about these exes and why they're doomed to fail in their latest attempt to make something work romantically. Nick doesn't want to talk about what's happening between them. For starters, Nick and Sharon are suffering from some major communication problems that could end in catastrophe. It's clear that Sharon would like to talk about that kiss in Nice and the almost kiss at the coffee house, but Nick seems more interested in just letting things flow. It'd be different if Sharon and Nick were some new fling, but they're former flames who have a rich history that involves decades on and off together. The fact that Nick can't have a real conversation about their latest romantic turn is troubling. 2. Nick has commitment issues when it comes to Sharon. Of course, that brings us to another hurdle since Nick has commitment issues when it comes to Sharon. There's part of Nick that's scared to go too deep out of fear that they'll hurt each other again and destroy their bond. If Sharon and Nick really want to make things work romantically, they'll need to go all in. Unfortunately, Nick shows no signs of being able to do that, so this potential reunion attempt may fail miserably. 3. Nick's alliance with Kane could change everything. Even if, by some miracle, Nick could conquer his communication and commitment problems, some Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, drama could get in the way of his renewed romance with Sharon next. Sharon already seemed unsettled over Nick's plan to buddy up to Kane and play the good cop to Adam Newman's, Mark Grossman, bad cop. Nick is seeking a Kane alliance on Victor Newman's, Eric Braeden orders, so he's getting more involved in Newman family business, and that always brings out a more sinister side of him. Plus, YNR spoilers suggest this could put Nick in Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, orbit more often, which is always a recipe for disaster. That could be a quick way for Nick to grow closer to Phyllis, which might bring whatever he's trying to rebuild with Sharon to a screeching halt. Bottom line, there are good reasons to think Sharon and Nick won't be living happily ever after. Nick may ruin this possible Sharon reunion, so let's just hope their friendship can survive if their romantic reboot flops. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Sharon may make some updates to her perspective when it comes to Nick and what she wants from him, so stay tuned for any romantic shakeup news ahead. CDL's where you want to be for terrific Young and the Restless spoilers, news, and updates, so stop by often for more YNR info. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers for Wednesday, August 20th, reveal that Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, will accuse Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, while Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, makes a furious demand. Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, will also tempt Daniel Romalotti Jr., Michael Graziadei, so there'll be a lot happening in Genoa City. First on Wednesday's Y&R episode, Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, and Chelsea Lawson, Melissa Claire Egan, will face more backlash from Billy. This may involve additional media attacks or perhaps the alliance that Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, is now pursuing with Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn. Whatever the case, Billy will unleash his anger as he demands more information. Over with Daniel, he'll see Tessa in a different light. Daniel has already been developing real feelings for Tessa, but his attraction to her may intensify even more in Wednesday's show. It could leave Daniel tempted to kiss Tessa or tell her how he feels, but will any bold moves be made? Regardless, Daniel will struggle with some Tessa temptation after they share some close moments. Next, Audra will try to spin things around when it comes to all the Kyle drama. We'll see Audra once again accuse Kyle of coming onto her, so she'll act like Kyle's the one who can't keep his hands and lips to himself. Audra's blame game may come as Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, approaches Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, to tell him all about what his girlfriend's been up to. Claire will be eager to expose Audra's attempt to blow up her romance on Victor Newman's, Eric Braeden orders. Nate also needs updates on the kiss Audra planted on Kyle at Society, so Claire will prepare to deliver some scandalous information. Despite Audra's efforts to wiggle out of the consequences of her actions, that plan is destined to fail. Nate will back Audra into a corner before the week's over and push for the whole truth, so their relationship seems destined to implode. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Audra should have plenty of regrets now that some terrible news is brewing for her own romance. CDL's the place to be for great Young and the Restless spoilers, news, and updates, so make us your go-to Y&R source. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, recap for Tuesday, August 19th, reveals that Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, will warn that Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, isn't his queen while Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, has an Italy twist in store for Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman. In the park, Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, will catch up with Claire Newman, Haley Aaron over gelato, so they'll talk about Cole Howard's, Eddie Peck, passing, and Mariah Copeland's, Cameron Grimes, decision to move out. Claire will also hint about things getting worse since Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, came home from Nice, so Tessa will take her to Society for a drink so she can explain. Meanwhile, Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, will be at Society's bar on the phone with Kane, so Daniel Romalotti Jr., Michael Graziadei, will overhear Kane's name and quiz Holden once he hangs up. The conversation will include some info about Daniel's past with Kane and the fact that they've both been married to Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil. Daniel will exchange introductions with Holden and admit he's protective of his mother, so he'll want to know if Phyllis aligning herself with Kane is a mistake. Holden will eventually grow suspicious of Daniel's questions and wonder if Kane put him up to digging for dirt. Daniel will assure Holden that's not the case, so Holden will relax a bit and open up about his desire to open a nightclub. Once Tessa and Claire arrive, Holden will order up a round of Vespers for all of them. Daniel, Holden, Claire, and Tessa will realize they're all dealing with losses of some form, so that'll give them a reason to bond. Although Holden lost the person he used to lean on when Damian Kane, Jermaine Rivers, died, Claire will feel confident that he'll find someone else to turn to. At the Abbott mansion, Jack will come home to find Diane has decorated with reminders of Italy. It'll be like a little staycation to make up for their derailed honeymoon. Diane and Jack will share some lovey-dovey moments as they discuss Harrison Abbott's, Reading Munsell, imminent return home, which should be noisy since Summer Newman, last played by Alison Lanier, bought him an accordion. Jack and Diane will look forward to having rambunctious Harrison in the house again, but they'll enjoy the peace and quiet for now. After some talk about Kane and Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, Diane and Jack will discuss plans to reschedule their honeymoon, but they won't want to travel by train this time around. On Kane's train in Tuesday's Y&R episode, Phyllis will show up with a bottle of something fancy that she stole from Kane's chateau. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers for the next 3 weeks, August 18th to September 5th, reveal that Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, will find that she can't surrender. Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, will also face a tricky dilemma while Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, demands results, so there'll be some interesting challenges in Genoa City. The week of August 18th to 22nd will bring Claire Newmans, Haley Aaron, Blabbing and Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, pressure, so Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, will be forced to answer for her terrible behavior. While Nate fumes over Audra's breakup scheme for Victor and all the other sleazy moves she's made on Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, will lash out at Daniel Romalotti Jr., Michael Graziadei. Since Daniel will ask too many questions for Holden's taste, it'll leave Holden worried that Kane hired Daniel to pump him for info and score dirt. Daniel will deny that and eventually find himself admiring Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, in brand new ways. The more time Daniel spends with Tessa, the more he'll want more than just friendship. Over with Victor Newman, Eric Braeden. He'll lock in a stunning decision that could leave even his closest loved ones taken aback. Victor could make a power play that his family doesn't see coming. As for Phyllis, she'll tackle Kane's first assignment and put a lot on the line, assuming this involves the hacking he requested. Kane will make it clear that he expects results, so Phyllis will need to prove her worth. During the week of August 25th to 29th, Audra may try to salvage her broken relationship with Nate to no avail. This could bring out Audra's bitter side and leave her focused on revenge, so Kyle and Claire had better watch their backs. Sally may also face a tricky dilemma if Audra decides to accept her friend's job offer after all. Could Sally rethink that offer once Audra's blown up her life so spectacularly? Audra may be a liability considering her impulsive behavior and how selfish she is. We're not exactly talking about a great team player here. Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, put Sally in charge, but there could still be some disagreements along the way when it comes to who's hired at Abbott Communications. The week of September 1st to 5th may leave Sharon on a mom-related mission. Mariah Copeland, Cameron Grimes, pushed Sharon to back off and threatened to distance herself if Sharon didn't listen, but Sharon can't just surrender when it comes to helping her daughter. At some point, Y&R spoilers say Sharon will inevitably make another attempt to support Mariah and encourage her to open up. If Sharon catches Mariah in a particularly vulnerable moment, there might come a day when she'll confess the whole smothered stranger, Michael Swan ordeal. Over with Lauren Fenmore Baldwin, Tracy E. Bregman. She may have the 3 dress options she promised Christine Blair, Laura Lee Bell, for her wedding. Christine and Danny Romalotti, Michael Damian, aren't tying the knot until October, but Lauren will no doubt want to get the bridal gown choice squared away in plenty of time before the ceremony. Finally, Victor's Jabot takedown efforts could take a toll on his marriage to Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott. If the Newmans join forces with Kane on this like Victor wants, Nikki may be tempted to sabotage their efforts and try to help Jack save his family company. That's the kind of thing that could infuriate Victor and leave him at odds with Nikki in the not-too-distant future. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Victor will have to make some updates to his strategies along the way, so stick with us for more news on his feud with Jack. CDL's where you want to be for terrific Young and the Restless spoilers, news, and updates, so visit us frequently for more Y&R details. Kane won't be in the mood to celebrate since the twins still won't returning his calls or texts. Phyllis will reflect on faking her demise and point out that her own children came around, so she'll predict that Kane's kids will come around, too. Phyllis will also talk about her belief that the Newmans are rattled since Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, told her about wanting an alliance with Kane. After Phyllis admits there's something she should have told Kane already, he'll flip out thinking she's betrayed him and will demand answers. Phyllis will push Kane to chill since she'll just be talking about overhearing Lily at society. Since Phyllis realized Kane was probably struggling alone, she wanted to come lift his spirits. Things will get awkward as Phyllis tries to pat Kane's shoulder, so she'll decide maybe she's overstayed her welcome. Kane will stop Phyllis from leaving and seem like he appreciates the gesture, since they're a lot alike. That said, Kane will make it clear that they're not partners and that Phyllis isn't the queen to his king. After Kane points out they're not equals, Phyllis will seem okay with that and will toast to there. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers update for Tuesday, August 19th, reveals that Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, will think she knows best while Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, gets a warning. Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman will also get a surprise, so here's what YNR fans can look forward to. At the Abbott mansion, Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, will distract Jack from his concerns about Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, and his inside man mission to protect Jabot from Kane. Jack and Diane's attempt at a honeymoon didn't quite pan out since they got stuck in France for so long. That's why Diane will push for a bit of a redo on Tuesday's episode and delight Jack in the process. Jack and Diane may visit some exotic destinations at a later date, but they might have a staycation right now and just take a moment to savor their love for each other. Next, Phyllis will basically appoint herself as Kane's advisor and tell him the best way to handle a situation. This may have something to do with Nick Newman's Joshua Morrow request to help him grease the wheels and form a Kane alliance. Phyllis could walk Kane through the pros and cons of a risky Newman partnership. Although Kane still intends to go after Chancellor and Newman Enterprises, Phyllis might see the value in using the Newmans to go after Jabot first, since that's also on the to-do list. Phyllis might acknowledge that the Newmans aren't exactly trustworthy, but she may also think it's best to let them believe they're getting their way for now. Kane will get a warning, so Phyllis may argue that he'd rather have the Newmans as an ally than an enemy, at least this early in the process of his corporate takeover plans. Across town, Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, will have a hard time resisting an attraction that's bubbling up, so some tricky romantic news is on the way. Since Holden will find himself increasingly drawn to Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, Y&R could be setting up a new pairing, at least once Claire's romance with Kyle Abbott, Michael Miller, inevitably implodes. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Holden will fall hard for Claire, so stay tuned. CDL will have other great Young and the Restless spoilers, news and updates to read up on, so check back frequently for more details. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers update for the week of August 18th to 22nd reveals that Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, will play the blame game while Kyle Abbott's, Michael Miller, faces some competition for Claire Newman's, Haley Aaron Hart. Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, will also have an outburst, so here's what viewers can look forward to. Despite Audra's attempts to convince Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, there's nothing shady going on, he'll have a feeling she's lying. Claire should confirm that when she approaches Nate with all her dirty Audra news later. Once Claire updates Nate on Audra's breakup plot for Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, she'll presumably blab about seeing Audra kissing Kyle, too. Audra's been working overtime on this blatant manipulation plot, so Nate needs to know about it. Although Audra will play the blame game and try to act like Kyle's the real issue, Nate won't buy that. Audra and Nate are on the verge of a major blow-up since he'll push her to admit the truth, and he won't want her to leave any details out. Over with Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, he'll struggle to get Claire out of his head. Holden will do his best to fight the feelings that are bubbling up, but he'll indeed be attracted to Claire and won't know what to do with that. Kyle could have some competition for Claire's heart, especially if she finds out about all the lines he crossed trying to expose Audra and Nice. Other Y&R spoilers say Phyllis Summers' Michelle Stafford will give Kane some advice he didn't ask for, but it may prove useful. Kane may get Phyllis's words of wisdom regarding the Newmans and how maybe aligning with them might be a good thing for now. While Daniel Romalotti Jr., Michael Graziade, falls harder for Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, Billy will get in Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, and Chelsea Lawson's Melissa Claire Egan faces for an argument. Chelsea and Adam will get grilled, so Billy may lash out over them dragging his name through the mud at Newman Media again. Back with Jack, he'll have some romantic guidance for Kyle, while Kane goes over the details of Phyllis's new assignment. Will Kane use Phyllis's hacking talents to his full advantage like they planned? The Young and the Restless spoilers say Victor has an unexpected decision ahead that'll shake up Genoa City, so Kane had better be prepared. CDL will have all the hottest Young and the Restless spoilers, updates, and news you need, so make us your top Y&R source. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers update for the week of August 18th to 22nd reveals that Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, will play the blame game while Kyle Abbott's, Michael Miller, faces some competition for Claire Newman's, Haley Aaron Hart. Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, will also have an outburst, so here's what viewers can look forward to. Despite Audra's attempts to convince Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, there's nothing shady going on, he'll have a feeling she's lying. Claire should confirm that when she approaches Nate with all her dirty Audra news later. Once Claire updates Nate on Audra's breakup plot for Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, she'll presumably blab about seeing Audra kissing Kyle, too. Audra's been working overtime on this blatant manipulation plot, so Nate needs to know about it. Although Audra will play the blame game and try to act like Kyle's the real issue, Nate won't buy that. Audra and Nate are on the verge of a major blow-up since he'll push her to admit the truth, and he won't want her to leave any details out. Over with Holden Novak, Nathan Owens. He'll struggle to get Claire out of his head. Holden will do his best to fight the feelings that are bubbling up, but he'll indeed be attracted to Claire and won't know what to do with that. Kyle could have some competition for Claire's heart, especially if she finds out about all the lines he crossed trying to expose Audra and Nice. Other YNR spoilers say Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, will give Kane some advice he didn't ask for, but it may prove useful. Kane may get Phyllis's words of wisdom regarding the Newmans, and how maybe aligning with them might be a good thing for now. While Daniel Romalotti Jr., Michael Graziade, falls harder for Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, Billy will get in Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, and Chelsea Lawson's, Melissa Claire Egan, faces for an argument. Chelsea and Adam will get grilled, so Billy may lash out over them dragging his name through the mud at Newman Media again. Back with Jack, he'll have some romantic guidance for Kyle, while Kane goes over the details of Phyllis's new assignment. Will Kane use Phyllis's hacking talents to his full advantage like they planned? The Young and the Restless spoilers say Victor has an unexpected decision ahead that'll shake up Genoa City, so Kane had better be prepared. CDL will have all the hottest Young and the Restless spoilers, updates, and news you need, so make us your top YNR source. The Young and the Restless YNR spoilers update for Monday, August 18th, reveals that Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, will demand Audra Charles's Zuleika Silver secret while Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, rejects Kane Ashby's Billy Flynn plea. On Kane's train, Lily will keep pressuring him to ditch whatever he's plotting and accept her help with the twins. Kane will want more from Lily and will push for another chance to rekindle their relationship. When Lily refuses to go down that road again, Kane will get fed up and decide he'll just do damage control with the kids on his own. Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, will pop up at one point under the guise of discussing a job opportunity. Kane will back Holden up by acting like this is about hiring Holden to manage his Genoa City properties. Lily will take some jabs over Damian Kane's Jermaine Rivers' demise and warn Holden to watch his back if he doesn't take her advice to walk away entirely. At Society, Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, will sense that something's up when Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, isn't holding a grudge over Kane keeping him hostage. Nick will suggest he's hoping for peace and will seek Phyllis's help to make a Kane alliance happen. Lily will ultimately come along with updates on her Kane meeting and will show off her protective side when it comes to her children. Back with Kane, he'll warn Holden that he won't tolerate any disrespect toward Lily. Kane will also make a phone call in private to Charlie Ashby, Noah Alexander Jerry, and urge his son to call back along with his sister, Maddie Ashby, Lexi Stevenson. At the coffee house, Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, will continue to fume over Victor Newman's, Eric Braeden, actions and will warn Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, that she's moving in with Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, regardless of what her grandpa thinks. Claire will also complain about Audra's relentlessness and will shock Nikki with the news of Audra's latest stunt. After Claire explains how Audra put on a show and kissed Kyle in front of her, she'll hint about a dirty takedown scheme. Claire's vengeful admission will worry Nikki a bit, but her granddaughter will promise she's not going as far as kidnapping or poisoning Audra. This will just be about showing Nate Hastings the real Audra and blowing up her world in the process. In the park on Monday's YNR episode, Nate and Audra will be back in town following Damian's funeral. Now that Damian has been laid to rest, Nate will get back to his questions regarding Vibrante and why Audra suddenly ditched her partnership with Victor. Audra will act like she just wised up and saw that Nate was right, that Victor couldn't be trusted and wasn't someone she wanted to partner with. Nate will think there's more to it than that, so he'll basically demand the rest of the story. The harder Nate pushes, the more agitated and defensive Audra will get.